Hello snowboarders of the internet, I am your host TC and today I'll be reviewing the Ride Shadowban. This board is equipped with Ride's directional standard camber profile. So what that is you're gonna have camber in between your feet here, and then you're gonna have a rocker on the nose and a shorter rocker section on the tail. What that does is that's gonna give you pop, power, and drive with that camber section, and with that rocker section, you're gonna get ease in and out of turns, a little bit better float, and a little bit more catch free on those contact points. This board comes in a 147, a 151, 154, 155 wide, 157, 160 wide, 161, and a 164 wide. I rode this board at Copper Mountain where it was a beautiful sunny day. The snow was firm, but the groomers were perfect, and it was pretty much empty all day. So we had smooth groomers from opening till closing. The snow really didn't get softer until like the very end, and that was only at the base, so it was really a non-issue. I used my Ride Fuse boots and my Jones Mercury bindings. When we're talking overall flex on this board, it is coming in at middle of the road. That being said, the nose and the tail feel slightly softer than that just because of that little bit longer rocker zone on it. It feels a little bit softer. Now, when you go to torsionally flex this board, it is pretty much where it is at the middle of the road there, where you don't have to put a whole ton of effort into it. You can just foot steer it almost without thinking about it. Now, when we go into the stability portion, this board feels very stable. I understand why Avran daily drives this thing. That being said, not the dampest board Ride makes out there, but it does cut down on the chunder and all those micro vibrations extremely well. You will feel some of those bigger bumps and that sort of thing underneath your foot, but I think that's actually for the best, where you're hauling ass and you just don't actually go a little too fast, hit something a little too big, and get bucked around. You know where you actually stand on this board. This board is absolutely awesome in the ollies and jumps category, where you can load it up really heavy, really lean back on it, or you can just pop it from underfoot and you're still gonna get a good return on it. This thing is nice and easy to load up just because of that rocker in the tail, and it doesn't spring you or buck you forward. Even when you take it on those bigger jumps, it didn't feel terrible at all. You could let the lip do the work if you wanted. I tried to pop as hard as I could on this, and it still just kept me in line. It didn't put me off kilter or anything like that. And the landings are super smooth on it, where you can land on your edge if you want to set up for that nice S-turn into the next jump, or just land it flat-based and it tracks really straight. This thing was money on the jumps. I absolutely loved it. I kind of wanted to live on the jump line with it. I get why Avran's riding this thing as a daily. Since I have you here, remember to like, subscribe, click that bell, and turn on those notifications just so you don't miss any of our scheduled programming. When you're buttering on this thing, I see Avran doing it all the time, literally just playing around on it. I was like, well, he's got 100+ days on this thing. Out of the wrapper, it's gonna be stiffer, gonna be a little bit more hard, throw up a fight. Nope, not the case. This thing's actually super fun to butter on, where you can slightly lean over that contact point, find that sweet spot, and it just holds for you. There'll be a slight pop out on it, but it really wants to hold, and it really doesn't like try to throw you back or just sit right down. The same goes with on the nose as well. There's really no fight to it, makes it nice and simple. Even if you're buttering this thing sideways, you can still pop out and have a nice little spin there. Now, when you are on rails on it, it feels very comfortable. That camber zone in the middle keeps you nice and centered on the rail. So when you are sliding sideways, not a problem there. And if you do come from the top ropes, get a little bit too much air as you're going to board slide, I didn't get bucked off the rail or anything. It really cradled it nicely, didn't store up all the energy and kick me. It just kind of absorbed it all really well. Now, when you're pressing on the nose or the tail on rails or ledges, just expect it to be a little bit more difficult than buttering, but really nothing crazy. It didn't like store up energy, as I mentioned before, and try to boot you. It just really wants to hold it. I would recommend going a little bit faster. That way, if you're not as comfortable, it gives you a little bit more wiggle room. This board carves extremely well, where if you didn't know, you would think it actually has taper to it, and it's a little bit more directional than it actually is, but it carves like that. Even though it's that directional twin, it gets edge to edge nice and fast. It feels like you're using that whole contact point to hold on those medium and larger carves. And as long as that run is perfectly smooth, there is no speed limit on the carve. It will handle them all. In that more bumpy, chewed out terrain, definitely stay lower on your carves, but really nice and stable in any carving condition. And yes, it will Euro carve, no problem for you. Just stay centered, keep that weight nice and centered. You don't have to lean back too much or anything like that, and it's gonna make that loop for you. Rider in mind. This board is made for that intermediate to advanced rider that just needs one board to do everything for them, whether that be go ride 6 inches of POW, go ride in the slush, go on those brick days out there. They're gonna take this thing everywhere and it's gonna handle it for them. They don't need the stiffest board because they wanna still be able to press and pretty much hit rails, do all that stuff without getting too aggressive. They wanna be able to take a run off and just watch the family and just mind all the idiots out there. But overall, they just want a board that's gonna last them and be able to do everything. If you're looking for a way to get further involved in the community, head on over to Angry Snowboarder VIP. We have a great video over there getting into it really in depth, so I don't have to waste your time right now. I really enjoyed this board. I understand why Avran used this as a daily driver for as long as he did. This thing just holds up to everything I put in front of it. It wasn't the stiffest board out there, but I really didn't need it to be, and it honestly doesn't need to be. It feels like it is a direct competitor with the Ride Smokescreen, and honestly, this one's better in every category in my opinion. Just a super solid board. I would highly recommend this to anybody that just wants something that's not a super aggressive ride, but they can get aggressive on this if they really want to. Comparable boards: the Capita Mercury, the Bataleon Beyond Metals, and the Jones Mountain Twin. Recommended bindings: the Ride C6, the Salomon Hologram, and the Union Force. As always, I've been your host TC, and this has been my review for the Ride Shadowban. Why don't you go check out one of the reviews we have for the recommended bindings.